let's go ahead here and finish the animation off. So let's go ahead and save keyframes in between. So we set all the keyframes for when we want the ball to hit the ground at every second. And so what we'll do now is auto keyframe. So auto keyframe is basically a method of which we move the object and it automatically sets a keyframe for it. So if we click this little guy here, right next to the running guy, click this option here, auto keyframe is turned on. And so what that means is, let's go ahead and go back to the beginning here, and we'll go to frame 15. So we're going to go exactly halfway between the first bounce, right, from the first frame to the bounce. And we're going to go ahead and raise this guy up. So you might want to, look at this as from the side view and raise him up a certain amount of units. So I'm going to zoom out here. And let's say I want him to go up like 10 units. So I'll just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'll just move them up to about there. Now you could go in here and set this, to a numeric value. As an animator, I tend to look more visually at things, and I don't usually use solid numbers here, but sometimes it's helpful to do that. So I usually eyeball it first, and then if I want to go ahead and set solid numbers, I'll go ahead and say, okay, this one's at closer to 12, right? And visually want it at 12. So, and actually that was the wrong number there. I clicked on the X, so I don't want to change the X. I'm going to undo that, and I want to change this to 10. So let's just say 10. Oops. So notice I typed in 810 because I didn't, 810 units is way too high. So I went back and fixed that. So you'll kind of trip over these same things that I'm doing at some point. So take a look at the numbers, and if you do numeric values, just be careful of that. If something really wrong went, you lost the ball or something like that, just undo it. I could visually see that was way off, so I just set it to 10. So here I am leaping up and going down. And so for the next bounce, so let's go between 30 and 60. So halfway 30 to 60 would be 45 frames. And so, again, I can raise this up visually, but I want to go about, let's say, 7 units for the second bounce. So let's just say 7 and make sure that I don't have any points there. I'll just go ahead and say 7. So it's basically, almost 2/3, right? The second one. So I want it to jump a little bit. I don't want it to jump as high as the first one, but I want it to jump high enough so that I can do a second bounce. Now, okay, so 7 maybe isn't ideal. Maybe I want to try 8. And this is why I do it visually, because then I can see it rather than kind of guessing what the numbers are. And then I can refine the numbers there. And so for the next one, I'll set a keyframe between 60 and 90. So let's look at like 75. And so notice how, each time I do this now, I'm auto keying, right? It automatically sets a keyframe. If I didn't have auto keyframe on and I tried to do this, there would be no keyframe set. So let's say, okay, maybe this one's more like, 5. So it's half as high as the first one. And if I don't like it, I can always move it up just a little bit. Maybe it's around 5.5 or something. Okay, so then again, I'm going to the next section here. So I have 2 more bounces, and so what's going to happen is each bounce, because of gravity, right, each time the bounce isn't going to be consistently the same height. So let's say I make this about 3 units or so. So 3 is a little bit low. Maybe I'll just, visually move that up a little bit. And then I go to my last one, and so I might have to scroll and zoom out here a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and move him up. Maybe he's about 1 unit high, or 2. So 2 looks good for that. And now I'll go ahead and play my animation.